There is a particular kind of quiet that follows a great event, not the quiet of an ordinary evening, or the stillness that comes when a busy day simply runs out of hours. This is a deeper quiet, the settling that happens when something large has passed through and left the air different, the way a landscape is different after a storm, not because any of its permanent features have changed, but because something has moved through it and left its particular trace. This is a peaceful story from the ancient scriptures, set aside for the quiet hours of night. Let it carry you gently toward rest. The people of Israel were in this kind of quiet. They had been at the mountain for some time now. The thunder had passed. The cloud was still on the mountain, but its voice was now still. The 10 words had been spoken and received. Moses had gone up into the thick darkness and had come back down and had gone up again, carrying words in both directions between the people and the presence on the mountain. Something had been established at the mountain, a covenant, a relationship given a formal shape with terms on both sides, and a people who had said together, "Everything that God has said, we will do." But a covenant needs more than words to live in. A relationship needs a place, a form, a structure, a gathering point around which the life of the community can orient itself. A household needs a house. And so, in the midst of all the other instructions given on the mountain, there came an invitation to build something. Moses had been on the mountain for 40 days. 40 days in the cloud, in the presence, receiving not only the 10 words, but everything that would develop from them. The full architecture of the covenant life. The laws and customs and practices that would give shape to a people in the wilderness and beyond. And woven through all of this, with great care and great detail, the instructions for a dwelling. Not a permanent dwelling, not a fixed temple of stone built to last centuries. Something else, something suited to a people who were themselves not yet fixed, who were still in motion, still in the wilderness, still between the leaving and the arriving. A dwelling that could travel with them. A tent in its deepest form, though a tent of extraordinary intentionality, made of specific materials in specific ways for specific purposes. A portable place of presence, to go where the people went, to be set up and taken down and set up again, as the cloud moved and the camp moved, and the long wilderness journey continued. The ancient word for it was Mishkan, dwelling or tabernacle, the place where God would dwell among the people. The instruction Moses received on the mountain began with an invitation. Let the people bring gifts, from everyone whose heart moves them, from those who want to give, receive the offering. This detail is easy to pass over quickly, but it is worth holding gently for a moment. The tabernacle was to be built from offerings given willingly, not from a tax or a levy, not from compulsory labor, not from the labor of enslaved people. The people had been slaves, and that way of building was behind them. The dwelling of God among the people would be built from gifts that came from willing hearts. The list of materials was specific and beautiful: gold and silver and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet thread, fine linen, goat hair, ram skins dyed red, fine leather from the sea, acacia wood, which grows in the wilderness and is dense and hard and resistant to rot, oil for the lamps, spices for the anointing oil and for the incense, gems, onyx stones and other precious stones for the priestly garments. These are not the materials of poverty. They are the materials of beauty and craftsmanship, of things made with care for a purpose beyond mere function. Gold for the holiest objects at the center, silver and bronze moving outward, the rich blues and purples and scarlets of the finest threads, woven into fabric that would hang in the desert light and carry its color. Where did a people in the wilderness obtain such things? Some of it, the text implies, came from what they had brought out of Egypt, the gold and silver given to them by their Egyptian neighbors on the night of the departure. The wealth of a generation of labor, carried out in the hands of those who had done the labor, now in the wilderness offered back, given freely from willing hearts for the making of something holy. The instruction Moses received was precise, and here is something worth noticing. Moses was told to build according to a pattern, a specific pattern shown to him on the mountain. According to all that I show you, the instruction said, the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all its furnishings, just so shall you make it. The emphasis on pattern, on making the dwelling according to a form shown from above, runs through the instructions like a thread. The tabernacle was not to be a human invention, designed according to the aesthetic preferences of its builders or the architectural conventions of the time. It was to be built according to something given, received, shown. This is a distinctive way of understanding a sacred space. The building itself was to be a correspondence, an earthly reflection of a pattern that existed somewhere beyond the earth. The ancient world had various ways of expressing this idea, that sacred things on earth correspond to realities in heaven, that the temple or sanctuary is a meeting point between two orders of reality. The tabernacle's insistence on building according to the pattern shown participates in this ancient understanding without elaborating it philosophically. Simply, build it this way, because this is the way it has been shown. The specific dimensions, the specific materials, the specific arrangements of the furnishings, all of this was received as instruction rather than invented as design. Moses would carry all of it back down the mountain and give it to the people, and the people would build. The people of Israel had among them craftspeople. 40 years of labor in Egypt, working in stone and brick and mortar and wood and metal and cloth, had not been wasted from the perspective of skills. A people who built the storehouses and monuments of Egypt had learned to work with their hands. They knew how to cut stone, how to work metal, how to weave and sew and join. The wilderness had not provided them with much opportunity to use these skills. Walking is not crafting. Gathering manna is not joinery. The skills had been dormant, in a sense, through the months of travel. Now they were called upon. Now the builders, the weavers, the metalworkers, the embroiderers, the woodworkers, all of them were being invited to bring what they knew and what they could do and apply it to the making of the holy dwelling. And among them, God told Moses, 2 individuals were specifically named, given by name, gifted for this particular work: Bezalel, the son of Uri, of the tribe of Judah, and Oholiab, of the tribe of Dan. These 2 were called by name and filled with wisdom and understanding and knowledge in every kind of craft, to devise artistic designs, to work in gold and silver and bronze, to cut stones and carve wood, to teach others what they knew, named, gifted, called. The instructions began at the center and moved outward. The first object described, the holiest object, the innermost thing, was the Ark of the Covenant. Let the mind settle quietly on what this was. A chest, roughly 1.5 yards long and about 2.5 feet wide and deep, made of acacia wood overlaid with gold, pure gold, both inside and out, so that the wood was entirely encased in the metal, visible neither from within nor from without, just the gold, solid and still. Around its upper edge, a moulding of gold. On its 4 feet, rings of gold through which the carrying poles were inserted. Poles also made of acacia wood, overlaid with gold, fitted permanently in the rings so that the ark could always be lifted and carried without anyone having to touch the chest itself. On top of the ark, a lid, a covering, called in the Hebrew text the kaporet, sometimes translated as mercy seat or atonement cover. This lid was made of pure gold, a single piece, without seams or joinings. And on top of this lid, at its 2 ends, 2 figures of cherubim, hammered from gold, their wings spread out above the lid, their faces turned downward and toward each other, looking toward the gold covering between them. The ark would hold the 2 tablets of stone, the 10 words given at the mountain, carried in the chest through all the wilderness years. The cherubim are worth pausing on for a moment, simply as images. They are often pictured, in later centuries, as small and benign figures, the plump winged children of European religious art. But in the ancient Near East, cherubim were something else entirely. They appear in the ancient texts as composite creatures, winged and powerful, and associated with the guardianship of sacred space. The great gateway figures of ancient Mesopotamian temples were something similar. Enormous winged beings flanking the entrance to holy precincts, guarding the threshold between the ordinary and the sacred. On the ark's lid, 2 cherubim in gold, facing each other, wings spread upward and arching over the space between them. The ancient instruction said, "It is there, between the cherubim, that I will meet with you. That is where I will speak with you." The holiest place. A space that was, in spatial terms, very small, the surface of a gilded wooden chest between 2 golden figures. But in the economy of the tabernacle, this was the center of everything, the point of meeting, the place from which the voice would come, small and completely specific and entirely deliberate. From the ark, the instructions moved outward to the other furnishings of the innermost room. There was to be a table, also of acacia wood, also overlaid with gold, smaller than the ark, about 1 yard long, 18 inches wide, 1 yard high, with its own gold moulding and its own rings and carrying poles. On this table, bread was to be set, 12 loaves, 1 for each of the tribes of Israel, arranged in 2 rows. Fresh bread, placed before God continually, renewed each Sabbath. The bread of the presence, it was called. The loaves that stood always in the holy place, near the ark, a constant offering of sustenance in the presence of the holy. 12 loaves, 1 for each tribe, the whole community of Israel, represented in bread, present before God without ceasing. And the lampstand, this object, the menorah, as it would come to be known, was made of pure gold, hammered from a single piece, not assembled from separate parts, but formed by the hammer from one continuous piece of precious metal, the way a sculptor forms a figure from a single block. Its form was the form of a tree or of a plant in full flower. A central shaft with 3 branches curving out from each side, so that there were 7 lamp holders in total, the central one atop the shaft, and 3 on each side at the same height. Each branch was decorated with cups shaped like almond blossoms, with their calyxes and petals, the whole lampstand alive with the suggestion of a flowering plant made permanent in gold. The lamps at the top of each branch burned oil, pure olive oil brought by the people, pressed from olives grown somewhere outside this wilderness, carried in jars to the tabernacle. The lamps were to be tended by the priests, kept burning always, their light falling over the table of bread and the interior of the holy place. Hammered gold, flowering in lamplight, in the middle of the desert. The lampstand and its 7 lights illuminated the interior of the holy place in the way that the natural world has no light to offer inside a tent. The enclosed space, which would otherwise be dark, was filled with the warm, steady, unhurried light of oil lamps. Not the harsh light of noon in the desert outside, but a softer light, the kind that is conducive to quietness and presence. This is the quality of lamplight. It is not a light for hurrying, not a light that demands activity or productivity. It is a light for stillness, for reading, for conversation, for prayer. A light that does not race across surfaces but settles on them, resting on the gold of the ark and the linen of the curtains and the faces of those who enter to tend it. 7 lamps burning always. Inside the holy place, there was also to be an altar of incense, smaller than the other furnishings, about 18 inches square and a yard tall, made of acacia wood and overlaid with pure gold, with its molding and its rings and its poles, like the other furnishings, set directly in front of the inner curtain that separated the holy place from the holiest place beyond it, as close to the ark as a person could stand and still be on the outer side of the veil. On this altar, incense was to be burned, a specific incense made from a precise formula, 4 aromatic substances blended together in specific proportions, salted, ground fine, pure and holy. It was to be burned on the altar every morning when the priest came to tend the lamps, and again in the evening when the lamps were set. Every morning and every evening, the fragrance rising continuously, twice a day, day after day. The smoke of the incense rising before the curtain, the scent of it, spices ground fine and burned on gold, filling the enclosed space of the holy place, drifting through the fabric of the curtains, present in the air of the tabernacle at all times. Incense in the ancient world was not merely decorative, it carried meaning. The smoke that rises from burning spices is, in the imagination of the ancient Near East, a natural symbol of prayer, of human words and intentions rising upward, carried on something that moves without effort into the air above. The incense altar was not a perfume dispenser. It was a daily, concrete act of offering, of sending something upward morning and evening without fail, as part of the rhythm of the holy place. Morning and evening, the 2 thresholds of the day, the moment when the night gives way to light, and the moment when the light gives way to night. At both of these moments, the incense burned. The day was bookended by the rising smoke, by the fragrance of the offering, by the priest standing in the lamplight before the curtain and doing what the priest did every day. Rhythm and repetition, day after day. This was the texture of the tabernacle's life. Moving further outward from the innermost holy place, the instructions described what lay beyond, the outer spaces of the tabernacle and its surrounding courtyard. There was a large altar for burnt offerings to stand in the courtyard before the entrance to the tabernacle. This altar was made of acacia wood and covered with bronze rather than gold. Bronze for the outer altar, as the materials grew less precious the further one moved from the center. It was larger than the incense altar, about 7.5 feet square and 4.5 feet tall, with horns at each of its 4 corners. With its own grate of bronze, its own rings and poles, its own collection of pots and shovels and basins and forks, all of bronze, all made to fit with the altar and serve the offerings made upon it. The offerings that would be placed on this altar, the animals brought by the priests and the people as acts of worship and dedication and atonement, would burn on its surface, and the smoke of them would rise into the wilderness sky. The burnt offering was a whole offering, an entire animal given to the fire, rising completely in smoke. Nothing held back, everything given. This altar stood outside, under the open sky, accessible from the courtyard that surrounded the tabernacle itself. It was the first sacred object a person would encounter on entering the tabernacle complex, the threshold of the sacred space, where the approach to the holy began. Between the outer altar and the entrance to the tabernacle proper, there was a basin, a laver made of bronze filled with water. The priests who entered the tabernacle to minister were to wash their hands and feet from this basin before they went in. Every time they entered, every time they ministered, water before the holy space, the washing that prepared the body for the encounter, a practical act, hands and feet, the most exposed parts of a body that had been moving through the world, and also a symbolic one, the washing as a form of transition, a marking of the moment of crossing from the ordinary to the consecrated. The basin stood between the altar and the entrance, halfway through the transition, a rest stop on the approach. The courtyard itself was an enclosed space, its perimeter marked by curtains of fine linen hung on posts of bronze and silver. About 150 feet long and 75 feet wide, a substantial space, large enough to contain the altar and the basin and the tabernacle itself, with room for the people to move and bring their offerings. The linen curtains of the courtyard were white, fine white linen, hanging on their posts, catching the desert light and reflecting it back. The enclosure they created was a space set apart from the wilderness around it. You crossed from the open, undifferentiated desert into the courtyard through an entrance on the east side. A wide opening curtained in blue and purple and scarlet embroidered linen. A gate that announced by its color and its fabric that what lay within was different from what lay without. The tabernacle itself, the structure that stood at the center of the courtyard, housing the holy place and the most holy place, was a construction of extraordinary ingenuity. It had to be portable. It had to be assembled and disassembled, packed up and carried, set up again in the next encampment. And yet it had to be stable enough to stand through desert winds, structured enough to create the interior spaces that the furnishings required, beautiful enough to befit its purpose. The solution was a framework of wooden boards. Acacia wood, again, dense, hard, resistant to warping in the heat. The boards were upright, standing on end, each one fitted at its base with 2 silver tenons that slotted into silver bases on the ground, the way a tenon fits into a mortise, the joint that has held woodwork together since before recorded history. Each board fitted into its base, standing upright, connected to the boards beside it by gold rings and crossbars of acacia wood overlaid with gold. The framework, when assembled, was the skeleton of the tabernacle, open at the top, open at the sides between the boards, but providing the structure to which the coverings were attached. The coverings were multiple, laid one over the other in layers. The innermost covering, the one that would be visible from inside the tabernacle, forming the ceiling and perhaps the upper walls of the interior, was woven of fine linen in white and blue and purple and scarlet. Embroidered into this linen were cherubim, the same angelic figures that guarded the ark, woven into the fabric of the ceiling so that those who ministered inside were surrounded by them. The interior of the tabernacle was a canopy of blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubim in the weaving overhead. Over this linen curtain went a covering of goat hair, 11 panels of it, a practical and weather-resistant layer above the beautiful inner lining. Over the goat hair went a covering of ram skins dyed red, and over everything, a final outer covering of strong leather from the sea, the most weather-resistant layer, the protection against the elements, the rough exterior that bore the harshness of the wilderness climate so that the delicate beauty within could remain undamaged. Rough without, beautiful within. The exterior of the tabernacle, covered in leather, would not have caught the eye. The beauty was entirely interior. The interior of the tabernacle was divided by curtains. The entrance to the tabernacle proper was screened by a curtain, embroidered in blue and purple and scarlet, hung on 5 pillars of acacia wood, overlaid with gold, standing in bronze bases. This curtain announced the transition from the outer courtyard into the holy place. And deeper within, a second curtain, the veil. This one separated the holy place from the most holy place, the inner room where the ark stood beneath the wings of the cherubim. The veil was the same fabric as the entrance curtain, blue and purple and scarlet fine linen, with cherubim embroidered into it. It hung on 4 pillars of acacia wood, overlaid with gold, standing in silver bases. 2 curtains creating 3 spaces, the courtyard outside accessible and open, the holy place within accessible to the priests in their regular ministry, and the most holy place, the innermost room, the space where the ark stood, accessible only once a year, only to the high priest, only on the appointed day. 3 concentric spaces of decreasing access and increasing holiness. The further in, the fewer who could enter. The closer to the center, the more carefully the approach was structured. This architecture of graduated holiness was not meant to exclude most people from what mattered. It was a way of expressing, in spatial terms, something about the nature of the holy, that it is not casually approached, that access to it is mediated, that the distance between ordinary human life and the holiest presence is real and is to be respected. The veil marked that distance. It was always there, always hanging, always marking the threshold between the holy place and the most holy place. The lampstand burned on one side of it. The ark rested on the other. Those who would minister in the tabernacle were to wear specific garments. Aaron, the brother of Moses, was designated as the high priest, the one who would enter the most holy place and stand before the ark. His sons would serve as priests alongside him, attending to the regular ministry of the tabernacle. And for all of them, specific garments were prescribed, made to be worn in the tabernacle, part of the structure of the holy place, just as the furnishings were, given the same kind of care and precision in their construction. The instructions for the priestly garments are among the most detailed in all of Exodus, and they are worth letting wash over the mind in the gentle way of a bedtime story, not absorbed in all their specific detail, but felt as a kind of richness. For Aaron, the high priest, a breastpiece set with 12 stones, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel, engraved with their names. An ephod, a garment with 2 onyx stones on its shoulder straps, also engraved with the names of the tribes. A robe of blue, with pomegranates of blue and purple and scarlet, alternating with golden bells around its hem, so that the sound of the bells could be heard when the high priest entered and left the holy place. A turban of fine linen, with a plate of pure gold fastened to its front, engraved with the words, "Holy to the Lord." The 12 stones on the breastpiece are worth a moment of quiet attention. 12 tribes, 12 stones, each one different. Carnelian, chrysolite, emerald, turquoise, sapphire, diamond, jacinth, agate, amethyst, beryl, onyx, jasper. 12 distinct stones, each carrying the engraved name of one of the tribes, set in gold filigree, row by row, in a breastpiece worn over the heart of the high priest. When the high priest entered the most holy place, when he stood before the ark, in the most intimate space of the covenant, he carried with him, over his heart, the names of all 12 tribes, all the people, every family, every household, every individual within the community, all of them represented in the 12 stones over the heart of the one who stood between. This is a priestly act in its deepest form, to carry the people into the holy place, to stand before the presence with the community on your chest, over your heart, bearing their names and their needs and their lives before the one who sees and knows. The garment made this act visible and tangible. It said, "I am not here alone. I bring everyone with me." 2 more things were given on the mountain, woven into the instructions for the tabernacle: an anointing oil, a specific formula, myrrh, cinnamon, aromatic cane, and cassia, 4 spices in precise amounts, mixed with olive oil into a fragrant anointing oil. This oil was sacred, set apart exclusively for the purpose of consecrating the tabernacle and all its furnishings, and the priests who would minister within it. Nothing else was to be made with this formula. Nothing that bore this scent was to be used for any other purpose. When the tabernacle was complete, every furnishing would be anointed with this oil: the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, the basin, all of it. The anointing was the act of consecration, the formal setting apart of these objects from ordinary use to holy use. Oil poured on stone and wood and gold, making them belong to a different category than the materials of ordinary life. And the priests were anointed with the same oil, poured on their heads and applied to their bodies, the oil setting them apart just as the objects of the tabernacle were set apart. Ordinary men, made by the anointing into the ministers of the holy dwelling. And the Sabbath, even in the midst of the instructions for building, even here with the enormous project of constructing the tabernacle before them, the Sabbath was mentioned, kept, set apart. "You shall keep my Sabbaths," the instruction said. "This is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of solemn rest, holy to the Lord." Even the building of the tabernacle was not an exception to the Sabbath. Even this most sacred of construction projects did not override the rhythm of 6 and 1, work and rest. The 7th day was still the 7th day. The work stopped on it. The rest came. The Sabbath was embedded in the instructions for the holy dwelling, as a reminder that the rhythm of rest is itself a holy thing, not a pause from the holy, but part of it. The tabernacle could be built in 6 days out of 7, The seventh day was God's. The seventh day was rest. Moses came down from the mountain. After 40 days in the cloud, he descended with the tablets of stone in his hands and the full pattern of the tabernacle in his mind. He came back to the people and told them everything he had received: the instructions, the materials needed, the pattern of the furnishings, the specifications for the priestly garments, the formula for the anointing oil and the incense. And the people brought their gifts. The ancient account of what happened next is one of the most generous passages in the book of Exodus. The people came, morning after morning, bringing their offerings: gold bracelets and earrings and rings and ornaments of every kind, silver and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet yarn and fine linen thread, goat hair and ram skins and fine leather, acacia wood, oil and spices, gemstones. They kept coming. Morning after morning, they brought more. The craftspeople, led by Bezalel and Oholiab, gifted for this work, kept receiving what was brought, until the craftspeople came to Moses and said, "The people are bringing more than enough for the work the Lord has commanded us to do." More than enough. The giving had exceeded the need. Moses had to send word through the camp: "No more. Stop bringing. You have given enough." There is something very moving in this detail. The people who had been slaves in Egypt, who had labored for generations without choice, without ownership, without the ability to give because everything they had was taken. These people, in the freedom of the wilderness, gave freely, abundantly, from their willing hearts, more than was needed. The treasures of Egypt, the gold and silver that had been given to the departing Israelites on the night of the Exodus, flowed back now, not into storage, not into personal wealth, but into the making of the holy dwelling. What had come to them as a gift from neighbors was given again, from willing hearts, for the dwelling place of God, with the materials now accumulated. The craftspeople began their work. Bezalel and Oholiab, and all the skilled craftspeople whom the Spirit of God had filled with skill and understanding, set to work. The ancient account of the making of the tabernacle occupies several chapters of Exodus, and its repetition of the instructions, describing the making of each object in language very close to the instructions Moses had received, gives the making of it a quality of liturgy. The instructions given, and then the instructions followed. What was commanded on the mountain, now made in the plain. The curtains were woven, fine linen, white, with blue and purple and scarlet. The weavers at their work, the threads drawn through in patterns, the cherubim taking shape in the fabric. This is patient work, weaving. The shuttle moves back and forth, thread by thread, the pattern emerging slowly over many hours and many days. You cannot hurry a woven cherub. The work asks the time it asks, and in that asking, it shapes the one who does it, toward patience, toward attentiveness, toward the particular satisfaction of a thing being done well. The boards were cut and fitted, their silver bases prepared, the crossbars made. The goldsmith worked at the ark, covering the acacia wood in gold, shaping the cherubim for the lid. The lampstand was hammered from a single piece of gold, not cast, not assembled, but formed by repeated blows of the hammer, the craftsperson turning and hammering, the shape emerging from the resistance of the metal to the precision of the strike. The incense altar, the table, the basin, the outer altar, each object made according to the pattern shown on the mountain, each one complete in itself and related to all the others, all of them eventually to be assembled in the arrangement that Moses had received. The making took time, perhaps many months. During all those months, the camp at the foot of the mountain continued its ordinary life alongside the extraordinary work of building. The manna still came every morning. The Sabbath still came every seventh day. The families still gathered around their fires in the evening, and the children still played in the spaces between the tents, and the ordinary rhythms of life in a large community continued. But in the workshop spaces of the camp, something was being made. Day by day, piece by piece, the tabernacle was taking shape. What had existed only in the mind of Moses, received in the cloud on the mountain, was becoming real, becoming tangible, becoming an object that could be touched and carried and set up in the earth. The dwelling was being made. When all the work was finished, Moses inspected it. The ancient account says that Moses looked at all the work and saw that it had been done exactly as the Lord had commanded. Exactly. The boards and their bases, the curtains and their coverings, the ark and its carrying poles, the table and its bread, the lampstand and its lamps, the incense altar, the anointing oil and the incense, the priestly garments. Everything had been made according to the pattern. Everything was complete, and Moses blessed them. The craftspeople who had done this work, who had given months of skilled labor to the making of the holy dwelling, who had woven the cherubim into the linen and hammered the lampstand from a single piece of gold and carved the almond blossoms into the branches. These people received a blessing from Moses. Their work had been the right work, done in the right way, and it was acknowledged and blessed. Work well done, done faithfully in accordance with what had been given, is worthy of blessing. The craftspeople of the tabernacle were not merely following instructions. They were participating in something, bringing the pattern shown on the mountain into material existence, making the invisible visible, giving the holy a dwelling in the world. This deserved blessing, and it received it. The tabernacle was assembled on the first day of the first month. The ancient account specifies this with deliberate care. The first day of the first month of the second year of the Exodus, the new year, the beginning of a new chapter, the day on which the dwelling of God among the people would be established. Moses assembled it himself, piece by piece, in the order that had been given. The bases first, then the boards in their bases, then the crossbars, then the posts, then the coverings of curtain and leather. The ark was brought in and placed in the most holy place. The veil was hung before it. The table was set on the north side of the holy place, and the bread of the presence arranged on it. The lampstand was placed on the south side, across from the table, and its lamps were lit. The incense altar was set in its place before the veil, and incense was burned on it. The entrance curtain was hung. The outer altar was set up before the tabernacle entrance. The basin was placed between the altar and the entrance. The courtyard curtains were hung around the perimeter on their posts. The courtyard gate was hung in the east. And it was done. The tabernacle stood, assembled, in the center of the camp. What the camp looked like, with the tabernacle at its center, is worth holding in the mind for a moment. The wilderness around, the people's tents arranged in their tribal groupings, north, south, east, west, by families and clans, in the orderly arrangement that the ancient account describes elsewhere. The wide, organized circle of the camp, with its livestock and its paths between the tents, and its daily rhythms of gathering and cooking and resting. And at the center, the courtyard with its white linen curtains, and within the courtyard, the tabernacle itself. The leather-covered structure, not tall, not visually dramatic from the outside, but precise and purposeful, with its entrance facing east toward the rising sun, with its interior invisible from without, with the ark at its heart, and the lampstand burning within, and the incense rising twice a day. The center of the camp, the center of the community, the center of the covenant. And then, when Moses had finished everything, something happened. The cloud that had been on the mountain, the cloud that Moses had entered, that had been the visible sign of the divine presence through all the months since the people arrived at Sinai. The cloud came down from the mountain. It came and covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. The ancient account records that Moses could not enter the tent of meeting when the cloud was on it, and the glory was filling it. The presence was so fully present that even Moses, who had been inside the cloud on the mountain, who had spoken face to face with God as a man speaks to a friend, even Moses could not enter. The dwelling was filled. The cloud that had led the people since they left Egypt had now come to rest in the tabernacle. The presence that had been on the mountain had moved, had descended from the mountain, and taken up dwelling in the tent made by human hands, in the center of the camp, among the people. God was moving with them. Wherever the camp went, the tabernacle would go, and in the tabernacle the presence would dwell, the cloud and the glory. Two ways the ancient text speaks of the same thing, the visible and the interior manifestation of the same presence. The cloud that was visible from outside, that covered the tabernacle, that the people could see from their tents, and the glory within, the fullness of presence that filled the interior, that no human being could stand in without being overwhelmed. From outside, the cloud; from within, the glory. The people in their tents, looking toward the center of the camp, would see the cloud on the tabernacle and know the presence is here, in our midst, dwelling not on the mountain, but among us, traveling with us, present to us. This was the purpose of the whole building project, not to confine the holy to a particular place, as though the holy were limited by space, but to give the holy a form of presence among the people that they could recognize, orient themselves toward, camp around. Here, in the center, with us. After the glory had filled the tabernacle, the pattern was established. The cloud was over the tabernacle by day. By night, fire was in the cloud, visible to the whole camp, a light in the darkness, the same presence that had been the pillar of fire since the crossing of the sea now settled in and around the tabernacle. And when the cloud lifted from the tabernacle, the people would break camp and follow it. Wherever the cloud moved, the people moved. When it rested, they camped. This is how the wilderness journey would continue, not by a fixed itinerary, not according to a schedule or a map, but by watching the cloud. The cloud over the tabernacle was the signal. It lifted, and they traveled. It settled, and they stopped. Sometimes the cloud rested for only a night. Sometimes it remained for days or months. The ancient account in a later chapter describes this in the unhurried way of something that is simply the texture of life. The cloud settled for a long time, or for a short time, and the people remained or traveled accordingly. They did not choose the pace. They followed it. The tabernacle had been built to travel. Its boards and bases and poles and rings, all designed for disassembly and reassembly. The covenant chest, with its permanent carrying poles, never removed, always ready to be lifted. The altar and the basin and all the furnishings with their rings and poles. Everything portable, everything ready. And the cloud moved over it all, and the people followed. Let the mind come to rest for a moment in this image. The tabernacle in the center of the camp arranged around it, the tribes in their positions, north and south and east and west, the Levites closest to the tabernacle perimeter, the other tribes further out in their groupings. The whole community arranged as a kind of living pattern around the central point of the holy dwelling. From above, if the imagination rises high enough, the camp would have looked like a structured arrangement, an ordered community, a people who knew where they were relative to the center, the tabernacle at the heart, everything else arranged in relation to it. This is a physical expression of something the tabernacle was meant to embody, the holy at the center of life. Not at the periphery, visited occasionally, not reserved for special occasions or private moments, but at the very center of the community's daily life, present while they slept, present when they woke, present when they ate and when they worked and when they rested. The cloud was there in the morning, the cloud was there at night, the incense was burning twice a day, the lamps were tended, the bread was renewed each Sabbath, the priests were at their work. The presence was continuous. In a life lived around the tabernacle, there would have been no moment when the center was forgotten. The white linen of the courtyard curtains was visible from many of the tents. The glow of the fire in the cloud at night was visible to the whole camp. The sound of the bells on the hem of the high priest's robe, the golden bells alternating with the pomegranates, could be heard when the high priest entered and left the holy place. Visible, audible, present. This is what it was to dwell around the tabernacle, to have the holy not somewhere else, not on a distant mountain, not accessible only through a special journey, but here, in the center, among the tents, in the camp where you lived. Here I will dwell among you. Here I will meet with you. Here I will speak. There is one thread from this entire story that is worth drawing gently forward before we rest. The tabernacle was built from the gifts of willing hearts, not from attacks, not from the labor of the unwilling, from the voluntary overflow of people who wanted to give, who gave their gold bracelets and their silver ornaments and their goat hair and their ram skins and their time and their skill and their knowledge of weaving and metalworking and woodcraft. The craftspeople who built it were filled with the Spirit of God, the ancient text says. Wisdom and understanding and knowledge in every kind of craft, given to Bezalel and Oholiab and all those who worked alongside them. The human skills they had, developed perhaps over years in Egypt, learned from masters, practiced in many kinds of material. These skills were filled by something that made them adequate for this particular task. Human craft, made sufficient for holy work. The people gave more than was needed. The craftspeople worked with skills filled beyond their ordinary capacity. And what resulted was the dwelling of God among them. Something that is made from gifts given freely carries a quality that something made under compulsion does not carry. It is the same in every era and every culture. A meal cooked with love, a letter written with care, a gift made rather than purchased, a house built by neighbors for a neighbor. The giving leaves something in the thing given that cannot be manufactured or substituted. The tabernacle was made from the willing hearts of people who had been slaves and were now free. every thread of the embroidered linen, every hammered surface of gold, every fitted board in its silver base, made by hands that chose to make it, offered by hearts that chose to offer. And when it was complete, the cloud came and filled it. The human making and the divine filling, the craft and the glory, both real, both necessary, both part of what made the tabernacle what it was. Let the story settle now, the way the camp settles at the end of a day. The tabernacle is in the center of the camp, as it has been in the center of all these days and nights since it was first assembled. The cloud is on it, the gentle fire of the presence visible in the night sky, above the holy dwelling. The lamps within are burning. The 7 lamps of the gold lampstand, tended by the priests, their oil renewed, their light steady and unhurried. The incense has been burned for the evening. The fragrance has settled in the fabric of the curtains, lingering in the air of the holy place. The bread of the presence is on the table, arranged in its 2 rows, representing the 12 tribes, all the people, resting before the presence through the night. The ark is in the most holy place. The cherubim of gold spread their wings over the caporet, the covering, looking downward. The 2 tablets of the 10 words rest inside the chest, in the golden wood, held in the innermost place. The camp around the tabernacle is quiet. The fires at the family hearths are low. The children are asleep. The animals are settled. The sky above the Sinai wilderness is enormous and clear and full of stars. The same stars that have been above every camp on this long journey, unchanged by the events on the ground below. The cloud rests on the tabernacle tonight. It rested there last night, and it will rest there tomorrow night, and in all the nights of the wilderness journey ahead. The presence has taken up its dwelling and will not be hurried away. It arrived when the tabernacle was complete, and the glory filled the place, and it will remain, traveling when the people travel, resting when they rest, going before when they move. This is the covenant made visible, made structural, given physical form in boards and bases and curtains and gold. The covenant that said, "I will be with you," made into a dwelling, a tent, a structure in the center of the camp that said, "Day and night," in linen and lamplight and incense and gold. Here I am, here with you, here in the center of the life you are living, in the camp, not apart from it, in the wilderness, not waiting for you to arrive somewhere more suitable. Here, in the middle of the journey, which is itself the life. Let the lampstand burn quietly in the imagination. 7 lamps, flowering from one hammered piece of gold, their light steady and warm in the enclosed space of the holy place. This light has been burning since the day the tabernacle was first set up. It burns through the night while the camp sleeps. It will be burning when the first priest arrives in the morning to tend it and offer the morning incense. Uninterrupted, continuous. There, let the bread of the presence be on its table. 12 loaves for 12 tribes, the whole people present before the presence, even while everyone sleeps. The priests have set it there. It will remain until the next Sabbath. It is an offering that requires nothing more once it is placed. Simply present on the table, in the lamplight. Let the ark be in its place, the 10 words in the chest, the cherubim with their wings spread, the space between them where the meeting happens. The most holy place, the innermost room, dark and quiet, and full of what cannot be described. Let the breath slow now. Let the body rest where it lies. Let the weight of all that today required settle gently downward. The the way the cloud settled on the tabernacle, not pressing down but resting gently on what had been made ready to receive it. The building is complete. Every board is in its base. Every curtain is hung. The gold is in its place, and the linen is in its place, and the lampstand gives its light, and the incense gives its fragrance, and the bread gives its presence on the table. All of it made by willing hands, all of it filled by the glory. You are held tonight in a story that has been held by people across 3,000 years. The story of a dwelling made for the holy in the middle of the wilderness, in the center of the camp, in the midst of ordinary life. A dwelling built from willing hearts and skilled hands and more than enough offering, filled at its completion with what no human skill could provide or manufacture. The cloud came, the glory filled, and the presence has been dwelling among the people ever since. Be still now. Let the holy be what it is, not far off, not requiring a journey, not waiting for the wilderness to end before it takes up residence. Here, in the center, where the people are, where you are. The tabernacle was built to say this clearly, in wood and gold and linen and cloud. I am not absent. I am not on the mountain while you are in the valley. I am here, in the tent in the center of the camp, in the midst of all the ordinary and difficult and unremarkable days of the journey. Here, let sleep come now. Let it settle over you the way the cloud settled over the tabernacle. Quietly, completely, covering what it comes to rest on. The night is long and restful. The morning will come with the light. The cloud will still be on the tabernacle in the morning. The presence does not sleep, but you may. Be still, sleep. Amen.